thank them for the work they've done so far. That would be 1.2 miles of bike lanes last year, protected bike lanes, project development on South Mass Ave, and the city's open support of the Longfellow protected bike lanes, as well as their commitment to improving in the square. Y'all are wonderful. This is terrific. I'm going to turn over the speaker to your neighbors, friends, family, a few people here today who are going to share their stories about biking and give you more information about the various action or inaction that they've taken in response to scary people. All right, first up we have Laura. Also playing today for us.
Coordination challenge. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes!
Okay. There was a time, many years ago, when I didn't even realize the streets were unsafe. Then my housemate's best friend was hit by a car while riding her bike. She died. She was 22. I watched my housemate fall into a deep depression, quit his job, stop paying rent, and get evicted. I'm already crying. A few years later, I got doored. And then a year after that, I got doored again. I was lucky though, it was fine. Then another housemate got doored. He got doored. A lot of people got doored. A young woman died in Inman Square. A scientist died right behind us. My colleague at Cambridge Ringen Latin School died this past February after trying to cross the street. He was 29. The truth is, 7 people have died walking or biking in Cambridge since 2015. 2 of them were here in Porter Square. Hundreds more every year are struck and injured. I became involved in bike advocacy and learned that it's a robust community of people where, young and old. I met a bunch of students where I teach at Cambridge Ringen Latin who also love biking. About 300 students, actually, at CRLS Bike to School. Advocates like the ones who organize this rally sacrifice hours of their personal life every day to fight for safe places in the city for people to move themselves from point A to point B. Now, call me crazy, but this seems like a silly thing to have to fight for. To break it down simply, there are 4 major ways to travel through the city. You could ride a motorized vehicle. Car lanes are built for you with appropriate width, signs, laws are made, lanes are added to add more traffic. Or you could go underground and ride the subway. You'd be riding on a track that only trains are allowed on. You probably see where I'm going with this. Or you could walk. You'd be walking on a sidewalk that cars are not allowed on. Trains also are not allowed on sidewalks. Actually, in most places, trains can't even go on the roads. So there's not a lot of crossover so far, and that seems to make sense. Lastly, are eccentric. You don't have to be a punk to ride a bike. This also isn't new. Bicycles have been around since the 1800s, about as long as cars. So again, to recap, people drive, they ride trains, they bike, and they walk. That's how we get around the city. But I never told you where the bikes go. Where do they ride? Well, there's the catch. You, as a cyclist, get the luxury of sharing a lane. I love sharing. I learned to do it in kindergarten. Please tell me, who do I get to share with? I hope I'm sharing with pedestrians. Wait, what did you say? Cars? Really? I thought I was going to share with the pedestrians, since they move at a similar speed as me and they're equally as unprotected. So you're saying I have the privilege of sharing with the cars in that big car lane? Well, does this mean the cars will still be made out of metal and have the ability to much faster than me? Think about that. Sharing sounded fun for a second, but how will I change lanes if I have to turn left? Do I have to take my hand off the handlebar and point to the left? What if the person driving the car doesn't see me do that because they're texting? I'm really confused now. And won't they get mad since I can't move nearly as fast as them? So you're telling me I'm allowed to ride directly in front of them the whole way? As though it's also my lane? Because we're sharing. It seems to make sense, but whenever I try that, the cars just don't seem to want to share that badly. I once heard a student say the challenge of riding in the street is thrilling. Having to weave in between cars and do risky things. Well, at least someone is enjoying that circus we call road infrastructure. I just wish the game didn't have such high stakes. Call up a few high school students who were willing to come and speak today. Ahmed Bengamari, Ezra Rudell. They're just going to tell some stories for everyone to hear.
Hi everyone. Thanks for coming out here. So as Mr. Riley said, my name is Ahmed Bengamari, and maybe some of you know me as the 14-year-old that got hit by a car on Putnam Ave last month, and yeah, that was really fun. Really fun experience for me. I don't know what to say about it. You know, I woke up that morning feeling like it was going to be an awesome day. I came back from Washington, D.C., where I was that week with the Cambridge Youth Council. And yeah, I woke up that morning feeling like it was going to be a great morning, great day. I did everything that I'm supposed to as a student. I brushed my teeth, I put my clothes on, I took a shower, and I headed out on my bike. And when I got to Putnam Ave, you know, that's my normal route, it's my normal commute. And that day I was turning on my bike, I was turning to change lanes, and a driver had an awesome idea to ride in the opposite lane of them. The opposite lane where they're obviously not supposed to be driving. And they were driving actually really fast. And it was a school zone. And yeah, it clipped the car hit my bike from behind, clipped me, sent me flying in the air. You know, at least I had my helmet on. All I came out with just a concussion, you know, broken hand. It could have gone very worse. I could have lost my life. And that car, it didn't even stop. It was a hit and run. They just kept going. And you know, on the security tapes from the school that on Putnam Ave, you could see the car came back 3 minutes later, slowing down, obviously to see what happened. You know, they obviously knew what they did. It's a really shocking experience. You know, I don't know if many of you have gotten hit by a car before, but it's not that fun. You know, and I think that if there was a bike lane on Putnam Ave, you know, just for bikers, obviously, you know, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have gotten a concussion. things for bikers, you know, stay safe on the roads when they're biking.
Very good.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, that was great. So we're with the CRLS Bike Club. It's a bike advocacy group at Cambridge Richard Latin High School. And so I'm just gonna give some important information on the cyclists at Cambridge Richard Latin School. So as Raleigh mentioned earlier, there's about 300 students who bike to school on a regular basis. We do bike counts outside every week. And we also did a survey last year, and we found that 25%, that's 75 of the 300 student cyclists, have been in a crash with a car. 25% have been in a crash with a car. On the day that they were surveyed, 59% had been passed too close by a car. 20% had been doored or nearly doored. And more than 10% had been right hooked or nearly right hooked by cars turning in front of them on the morning that they were surveyed. So these are 300 students biking to school every day, and they are clearly not safe. They are being hit. 1 in 4 has been hit already. They are continue to be, as you saw, Ahmed as an example, they continue to be hit every single day. And we really need lanes like we're advocating for in Porter Square and throughout the city. Especially, we're grateful for the lanes like Cambridge Street, and especially on Broadway as well. We're asking for a complete network to get students from around the city easily to school. Thank you.
Hey everyone! Yeah! So thank you guys. My name is Colin Duran. I'm here today as a resident of Cambridge. I'm here today as a dad who just wants to walk and bike actually with my daughter safely around the city. And I want to give a huge shout out to all the families I saw here and I see here. It proves that we need safe streets for people of every age and ability in the city. I'm also here today as an employee of a business that employs people here, and all I want to do is get to work safely. I'm also here today, like many of you, as a victim. 2 years ago, just blocks away from here on Mass Ave, I was biking to work on a sunny day on a hubway, and a truck driver tried to intentionally hit me twice. Witnesses said they thought they were going to witness a death. He got out and assaulted me. All because I was riding on the edge of the painted bike lane because I didn't want to get doored. Now, people, when I tell this story, say, well, that's just a crazy story. A year later, a cyclist in the same exact spot got intentionally hit by a driver. What did the city do? What do you think they did? They didn't put in a protected bike lane, they ticketed cyclists. So as people who bike and walk through this city every day, we know the truth. The truth is that paint is not protection. The truth is that our streets are not safe. And the truth is that after thousands of people signed a petition asking for change, the city promised us it would respond by building safer streets, by building a network, a citywide network of protected bike lanes. But I'm here to say, while the city has made some progress, and we thank them for that, the promise to install a citywide network of protected bike lanes is all but stalled. The city's bike plan commits to nearly a 16-mile network connecting Cambridge from end to end. In In order to complete that vision in 5 years, they would need to complete just over 3 miles of protected bike lanes a year. Since 2015, just over 1 mile of protected bike lanes have been installed. Most of that this year. And this coming year, there is only one project along South Mass Ave from Sydney Street to Memorial Drive, which will make a huge difference. But there is only one project in the pipeline, despite a commitment in the Vision Zero plan to build 3 projects this year. And while we appreciate and recognize the hard work of the city staff to make these projects possible, it's just not near. I also want to tell you that this small amount of projects installed to date are overshadowed by far too many missed opportunities. So I'm going to tell you about those. Just last year, all protected bike lane projects were inexplicably dropped from the city's participatory budgeting process at the last minute, despite the fact that 6 of the 10 most supported citizen-generated proposals involved protected bike lanes. Does that sound like progress? I'm here to tell you planned safety improvements along several streets mysteriously never happened, including on Garden Street, which I biked here today on, behind a father and his child. It's an important route for high school students and for families. Planned safety improvements were inexplicably dropped. They disappeared. Does that sound like progress to you? And more often than not, promises made in the city's bike plan do not become reality when roads are reconstructed. Perhaps the worst example of this is in North Cambridge and Huron Village, where all the major roads were reconstructed and there is still no safe, protected route for families, for people who want to travel around this city. Does that sound like progress to you? No! And when it came to Huron Ave, where their own bike plan calls for a protected bike lane, they refused to implement one. In fact, I lost count of the excuses they came up with. Instead, they just put down paint. Does that sound like progress to you? No! I didn't think so. So tonight, we're calling on the city to do more for the people of Cambridge, for the people who travel through this city every day, to do more for its youth, who you just heard from, to do more for the thousands of employees that work in businesses throughout Cambridge, to do more from the customers who visit the local businesses here and support them, to do more for families like mine, to do more for the senior citizens who retire here. We're here to demand more, because a city who says it's committed to Vision Zero must back up its words with action! We're here today to ask the city to prioritize safety, to prioritize people, not cars. We know that the deaths and the injuries that you have heard about are preventable. We know that they didn't need to happen, and we know that designing and building safer streets that prioritize people, not cars, will save lives. Here's the tip. I'm just going to break it down for you right now, and then you're done hearing from me. You should not have to fear for your life to walk or bike in this city. Wait, should I say that again? You should not have to walk or bike in this city. You should pick it up. You could probably say it better than I. You should not have to fear for your life when you walk or bike throughout this city. Biking and walking should not be a death sentence. Change needs to happen